This is version 2.4 for Drishti, and we will have a look at the new lighting in this video. In the previous video we saw how the basic model lighting model has changed to include the light buffer, and now we are using light buffer to do our all lighting calculations and apply those to the volume rendered model. Now here the currently the model is shown in the standard ambient occlusion model that is now standard for 2.4. So when I press tab, we see all these parameters. So again, like last video, let me just show changing the color of the in the ambient occlusion will change the way the image is rendered. Now in this video we will add a point light. We will have a look at basically point lights in this GI model, global illumination model. So to add a point light, you can just press shift and click to add a point, for example. So this will now become our point light. So I've just moved this point here, and suppose I want to have my light somewhere here. So once you have a point like this, or a set of points, we'll have a look at that later on. So we have a point here, then press say space bar, not while hovering over the point, but like you do for the command prompt. So space bar, and then you can give add point light. So add P light, so that is add point light. So now this is the light that we have added. Now this model looks overexposed because we have ambient occlusion lighting as well as the point light here. So let's reduce the effect of ambient occlusion. So let's just change the color of this ambient occlusion. So I've taken a darker color for AO, so this one here. We can also actually turn off the ambient occlusion, so press tab and then put black color for ambient occlusion. So this will turn off the ambient occlusion effect, and now what we are seeing is only this point light here. And now we can also change of course the position, but you can also change different parameters of this point light. So hover over this point light and then press spacebar. So like any other things in Drishti, in order to access the parameters for a particular widget or say point light, then you press spacebar and get those parameters for that point light. So press spacebar while hovering over the point light, and this is the color for the point light. This is the light buffer size. Let's reduce that so the calculations will be faster. So you can move this light here, and the calculations are fast because the light buffer size is small, so the calculations are fast. You can also add multiple lights. Let's change the color of this light. Then you can play with different parameters. So this is the collection angle. So if you reduce that, then you'll have sharper shadows. If you increase that, then you'll have diffused shadows. Then you can also smoothen the buffer. And then you can also turn off the doing the shadows, for example. So there are no shadows, just a plain white light, plain light. And then you can also change the fall off. So it basically reduces the radius of influence for this light. Now this looks pretty, the contrast is very low because there are no shadows for this light. Let's turn on the shadows. Now because the shadows are on, it's getting occluded. Let's add another light here. So let's add another light on this side. So I have added a point here. I've just moved this point away. Then press spacebar, add P light, and then we have added light. Let's again hover over that point light and then reduce the size of the buffer. We can also change the light buffer. Basically distinct color. And then if you want to hide the lights, then it is standard. So press V to hide these lights. So V is to toggle the visibility, or you can also go in toggle, and then again you can turn on the on or off the mouse grab, and similarly visibility. So you can turn off or turn on the visibility individually. So that way you can have point lights. Say let's change the color of this one. So hover over that point light and then press spacebar. Let's make it more dark. And then we can also add the ambient occlusion. So we can have multiple light sources as well as ambient occlusion. Now instead of just a point light, what you can also have is a string of lights. So what I'll do is now I'll delete these light sources. So in order to delete a light source, you can just hover over the light source and then press delete. Similarly, hover over the light source and press delete. So I have removed both these light sources. Now let's add light sources on the vertical column. So let's glow the vertical column. So I have a light here. And then press spacebar and then add P light. So what will happen is now all these lights will be strung together to create a single string light. So these are the lights. Now these would, let me just turn off the ambient occlusion. So I'll reduce the color of this light, make it more dark. Remove this clipping plane. So we have a light inside this vertical column. Let's increase the number of point lights within that string. So this will basically multiplication factor. So, and we'll also reduce the light buffer size so that the calculations are faster. Let me reduce this ambient occlusion color, so it's all black. So whatever light we are getting it from this string of lights. So this is point light, and I can also change this. This is transfer function, so I can just change it, and you can see that the effect is reasonably real time. So we can again hover over this light source here, and so increase the angle. Let's reduce the smoothness, and let's also smooth the light buffer. You can change the color. So you can see the internals glowing, and you can also increase the apply the ambient occlusion. So now if you cut it, let me also hide this point light source, press V. So you can see the internal structure and the glowing vertical column, and these things can also be animated.